Hi, my name is Hannah Berglund and my presentation is on comics. So here are some beginning questions to ask. What is a comic? What types of comics are there, and what are their different characteristics? There are many different types of comics, but the overall form of a comic is a story told through images within sequential panels, which usually contains text or speech bubbles. Here are some examples of a few types of comics. A comic strip is what you usually see in a newspaper. There are a small amount of panels which follow a sequential order, left to right, and contains speech bubbles most of the times. A comic book also has sequential panels, but is long compared to a comic strip. They often contain many pages worth of panels. The short stories are usually told over many publications that can sometimes last for years. A digital comic is a comic strip or book that is created and published on a computer. A graphic novel is like a comic book, but is in a novel format. The long and complex stories are told in 1 or 2 issues. Then there is a motion comic, which is animated with sound effects and voiceovers, where text and speech bubbles are optional. So I will show you a small portion of a Batman motion comic.
It's been 6 months since they first saw me, and it's taken them 6 months to abandon their nests. They're learning, but I'm learning too. I change my patterns. I hunt from above. This is what keeps me at the top of the food chain. Intelligence, unpredictability, devotion to my cause. This is why I will always find them. This is why I am superior. No, not this time.
So that is what a motion comic can look like. So now that we've seen that, I'm going to show you another video, The Brief History of Comics.
What most people know today as comics began in the 1930s with the publication of the first superhero, Superman, in Action Comics. The creation proved to be the first of many, and thus the superhero catapulted the medium into its golden age. By the 1950s, many parents had come to see comics as potentially subversive, and the medium was effectively demonized by the public. Congress stepped in, imposing the Comics Code Authority, which became a de facto censor for the industry. The step nearly killed the modern comic book, but the medium survived through conformity. By the late 60s, this imposed conformity and the success of campy TV like Batman helped to reinforce the notion that comics were irrelevant and puerile. To help change public opinion, writers crafted stories where their heroes dealt more with real issues and less villains. Heroes dealt with drug addiction, racism, and conflicts of religion. By the 1980s, the bar was raised further when writers like Alan Moore and Frank Miller came on the scene with stories that questioned the very moral fabric of Western society. Comic books are more than just entertainment. They are outlets of expression, artistic forms, and an ever-growing component of schools and libraries.
Comic books are a great way for kids to experience reading in a whole new way. With the wide range of materials available, comic books can be easily incorporated into various areas of academic study. There truly is something for everyone.
Today, comic books and superheroes continue to remain relevant because of how they mirror society. As events change what we believe a hero is, so too does the superhero change. They are our secular mythology, and they show us what we need to believe.
Okay, so now that we know what a comic is and the different types of comics, how do you create a comic? The first step is to decide the format of the comic. So will it be a comic strip, a comic book, a motion comic, or any other types of comics? After you have decided what kind of comic you're going to make, the next step is to write the storyline. Then, once you have that down, do a quick sketch of what will go on in each panel so you have an idea of what it will eventually look like, and so you get the layout how you want it. The last step is to create the comic, whether you draw, paint, or create on the computer. So, moving on, here is the mind map I made that contains 5 different types of comics that I talked about earlier. Then, here is the word cloud I made using some keywords connecting with my comic lesson. And last but not least, my references. Thank you.